All right, hello, hello. We have another great interview queued up for the Comics Launch audience today. On today's show, I have a guest who's going to talk all about his new project, which is one of the most popular new comics on Kickstarter right now, this very moment. So I'm excited to bring on my guest today, who is an Eisner Award-winning Canadian comic book writer and illustrator. He may be best known for his long-running webcomic series, The Abominable Charles Christopher, or a lot of the great work that he has done for DC Comics, including working on Gotham Academy, Superman, Flash, and Teen Titans. He also has created the fantasy adventure series Isola. Welcome back to Comics Launch, Karl Kerschl. Karl, how you doing?
I'm well, Tyler. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, I'm excited that we get to connect here. You're in the home stretch of what has been a great new launch for what's billed as a anime-inspired sci-fi murder mystery in space. It's called Death Transit Tanager, which just sounds badass, and it's one of the most backed new comics on Kickstarter right now. So excited for the success, and the new book looks amazing. 4 days to go. You're clearly putting your all into it, but I'm gonna give you a chance to gush a little bit about this new title. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it's weird to hear other people say the title. It's rare that I hear it spoken out loud to me. It's actually the title is supposed to be kind of an homage to a lot of anime that I used to watch. Specifically, there was one. I don't know if you ever watched Robotech when you were a kid, but I watched a lot of.
That was one of those things. Yeah.
I watched a lot of Robotech, and it was based on. It was actually three different animes that were imported into to North America, and one of them was called Genesis Climber Mospeada, which had suits that are similar to Tanager's suit. And so my title is kind of a riff on the Genesis Climber title and logo, kind of like a convoluted mashup of fun words,
Yeah, it definitely has that translated but still sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Kind of feel to it. So yeah. What is a death transit, which I think is a cool concept, but you want to share that?
A death transit is a person who works for an organization called Death Transits who are women typically who have an ability to speak to and see dead people or ghosts basically, and it's their job to kind of ferry these lost souls to the afterlife. So each of these stories is kind of a standalone story that has Tanager Ray, finding some lost ghost and figuring out how they were murdered or killed, and then kind of getting them back to their body or ushering them onto the afterlife in some fashion.
Yeah, I guess the challenge, you can see how in a galactic or universal context, that could be even more difficult than something that's just done on Earth.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the vastness of space. The first one actually takes place on a mining asteroid, so it's it's kind of a confined environment there. But we're definitely going to, with subsequent issues, get into some a lot more world building, a lot more like cityscapes and sci-fi settings.
Yeah. How long has this been a project that you've been, interested in working on?
It's something that I had a kernel of an idea for it like several years ago. Just the idea of this woman who kind of I really just wanted to do like a black and white short manga story, and the idea of it being about ghosts kind of came early. And then when I was finished working on the second volume of Isola right as the pandemic hit, and everything shut.
Nope. I love how Karl was about to say everything shut down, and just as he locked up,
Nothing was happening, and so I started.
Hey, Karl, yeah. Just as you said the words, everything shut down, and then you froze for a second there. But yeah, you want to try picking up? I have a little bit of a connection issue today. See if we can get Carl back here. Yeah, sorry about that, Carl.
It's all right.
Yeah, he seemed to be back in biz right now. So yeah, just I guess pick up from everything shutting down and
Yes. So right as the pandemic hit, the printers shut down. The comic industry was basically on hold. No one was working on anything, and it was at that time that I just started drawing this Tanager story, and it was turned out to be a 20-page black and white story, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And I put it online for free.
weird. Yes, super weird that this thing has been a little bit of laggy. Last I got was you put it online for free.
Yeah, well, that was about it, really. I'm checking my connection here, and I seem to be okay. So I don't know what's going on with the.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give
connection.
StreamYard the business after this.
Anyway, yeah, I put it online for free, and then I really just wanted to see it in print. And I had talked to some publishers, but I thought it would be fun to kickstart it because it's something I had some experience with, and it's something that I just love the model of putting things up for free and then running Kickstarters. It just feels right to me, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, you're someone that has done a lot of different stuff, but at least compared to the last Kickstarter, which was for The Abominable Charles Christopher, this is definitely something a little bit different. Did you have any concern about sort of your readers or your fan base like jumping in and grabbing something new for you?
My concerns were many. The first major concern was that this is a brand new IP or intellectual property. I mean, no one, unless you read it online, you're one of the few people who read it online. Like, it's just a project that no one's ever heard of. It's a character no one's ever heard of. So I didn't know, I knew with The Abominable Charles Christopher that I had a 10+ year readership who would hopefully come and support that, which they did. But there's a big difference between doing funny animal stories and doing like a sci-fi murder mystery. So I didn't know how many of those people would be interested or would come out to support it. And then also I was worried that that people would be turned off by a black and white manga style story. I did a 20-page black and white story, and then it's an 8-page color backup that's brand new that I'm doing for this issue. But I thought your average reader might not want a black and white story, which is kind of a weird assumption, given that manga is like the best-selling comics in the world.
Yeah, and the most successful like new indie comic in the last 25 years is The Walking Dead, which was black and white,
of course,
for its entire run. But I'm with you. Like I've still like we for our last Kickstarter that I did before the one that I've got going now. It's been Kickstarter a Kickstarter heavy 2023 already for me. But in the lead up, Alex Cormack, who's the artist of Sync, that was a project that we were launching. His process is he'll ink and do his like gray tone washes, and then he'll do the whole book, and then he'll come back and do a pass of color. And so like as I'm I'm trying to promote the book and everything, and all I had was his inks and gray tone washes, but they look finished, like they look like The Walking Dead, something like that. But I also was like, would this potentially hurt people? Would they think, oh, the new issue is in black and white for some reason? And yeah, it's weird how we can get in our heads about that stuff. But
yeah, and there's an audience. There's an audience out there who probably might prefer the black and white version. At least you've got. It might be fun for you to publish both of those.
Yeah, and we've definitely had things where like sometimes like it's a color book, but then we release the black and white version, and people go and snatch that up as well. I think you had a nice choice or made a nice decision to split the difference a little bit, where the core story is black and white, but you also did a color story that's included. Is that what I saw there as well? That's in color. Oh, lost Carl again. Son of a gun.
Yeah, I'm back. I heard, I could hear you talking. Yeah, I did. I if you've read a lot of manga, you often you'll see in the collections that they'll start with a short color version and then kind of just switch over to the regular black and white. So I wanted to do something like that, and it was a good opportunity for me to, for one, offer some kind of color, and two, it lets me get into kind of short backstory stuff about the main character, which I wanted to do anyway. So you've got sort of a main story that's just her on the job solving mysteries, and then a backup story that kind of tells you how she got to where she is now. And it gets kind of dark. Like it's tonally much different from the stuff I've been doing on the web up until now.
Yeah. And so when you put it up on the web, did you just throw it up on your website, or did you create a specific site for it? Like, it's been, I think, over a decade now since I really leaned into the web comic model side of things for any of the projects that I've worked on. And so I'm kind of curious, you've got a 20-page story, you want to get it out into the world, maybe kickstart the print version down the line, but what was your process to just hey, I'm going to put this up online for people to consume if they want to, or where are we in 2020s in terms of webcomics, as someone that's did the decade run or whatever?
It's a really good question, actually, because I think things have changed so much. I don't know if you ever listened. I know you've had Brad Geiger on your show before. And Brad and Dave Kellett do a podcast I really like called Comic Lab, and they often talk about being in sort of a what do they call it, like a post social media stage. Social media is still huge and strong, but if you recall, webcomics were very much their own personal web-based thing back in the early 2000s, early mid 2000s. And I did a lot of thinking about it. And while The Abominable Charles Christopher originally just had its own website, it was its own webcomic kind of landing page. I decided a few years ago to just consolidate everything. I wanted to make a concerted effort to just go back to having my own homepage, my own page that's just a hub for everything I do. So I moved all the Charles Christopher comics there under their own heading. I moved, so when I put the Death Transit Tanager stuff up there, I really just created another subheading of my comics section of my website and put it up there using very simple navigation so people can read it from page to page. And everything is at karlkerschl.com now. Everything I'm working on, previews of stuff, videos, every comic I do, there's a lot of free stuff. And I incorporated a Patreon model into it. So rather than use Patreon, I just decided to use existing plugins to approximate what Patreon does, which is really just set up a payment gateway and employ a subscription model. So I have a bunch of people who are just subscribed to my site, and they get a bunch of exclusive content that's kind of gated off to people who are not subscribed. But the comic remains free, so you can just go and you can go and read the stuff for free. And I am as part of the subscription model, I upload pages as I finish them for people who are subscribed or who are patrons. And then once the whole story is finished, I just make it free for everybody. So if you're one of those people who wants to read it as it goes along, you can subscribe. Otherwise, just wait for the chapter to be done and it'll show up there. Yeah. All the Charles Christopher stuff is free all the time, forever. There's no paywall for any of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we'll include links to your website. And I think that's, it's a beautiful site and a cool way to do it. I agree. The era of people even having all of these different websites that they go and check each and every day just seems to be not how things operate. And
kind of makes you miss RSS feeds, like syndicated feeds, because at least then you'd be able to follow all the comics and sites that you were following, and that doesn't really exist anymore.
And so the ability to have one website where all right, maybe we'll throw a pixel on there or whatever, or have your email list signed up to it, but everything is going to be housed there.
It's also a great way to just build your mailing lists. The mailing list was a huge part of my pre-launch strategy. and also just having there, like that comic was up there for a year before this this Kickstarter launched, so people could at least read it and kind of get used to what it was all about.
Yeah. And, one of these interesting things just about the different platforms that are out there, different ways to consume things, like you got 175 backers for the digital edition of this book, even though there's versions that people can go read for free. But a PDF of something is different than like the webcomic experience. And being a backer is different than just the passive webcomic experience. And so, I feel like we are at a place where the issues or the hesitations for creators to put stuff out into the world because of what it might cost them in the future is something that, is like there are still some creators that are still, maybe not down with that, or still are concerned
or
about
overly
that.
concerned about piracy. It's well, I mean, it's the proof is in the really the publisher reaction, because I've spoken to a bunch of publishers now who've approached me about publishing Death Transit Tanager or even the Abominable Charles Christopher, and the first thing I say to them is like, look, this is free online and I'm kickstarting every issue. Like that's like that's just something that's part of, like, that's just what I'm going to be doing. Are you still interested? And they're still interested, because I know you put your stuff out in the direct market and on Amazon and whatnot, but I haven't delved into distribution of any kind in that way. So the fact that the publishers are happy to take basically a proven product and just republish it in a different market suggests to me that we are past the point where we should be afraid of putting things online for free.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I mean, I'm sure there are certain publishers that might be an issue, but when there's just the way and the places that people consume their comics, they're really kind of different markets. And so, like, I see publishers like Scout, that are like, hey, use Kickstarter all you want. We're going to put out a direct market edition and try to get it into comic shops and bookstores. And that's, that's what we're up to. And then I still talk to, usually it's less established creators who are still like, I don't know about Kickstarter, because my dream is to like get Image to pick it up, and but also like they're like, how am I going to afford this? And sometimes the question is like, well, listen, let's say Image says, yes, we want this. Do you have the do you have the capital to go and fund your first 4 issues, and get them completely done and hire the artist that you want and the colorist and the whole team? Like,
last I heard it was 6 issues. Like, I know it used to be 3. I think it's up now because they need to get as much stuff in the can as possible before they launch. But yeah, that's a lot of time. Like, that's like a year or more of your life that you're basically working for free, hoping that you get some kind of return on it. I think a good model now might be just kickstart your comic and then take a collected edition to Image, because I mean, why wouldn't they take a finished book that has a proven audience and put that out in the direct market? Also, they only make money on trade paperbacks anyway, so it's a kind of a win-win.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried and in a lot of ways struggled to like make the Kickstarter model and the direct market model work, like with the same print runs and things like that. And going forward, at least for the foreseeable future, like, I'm just like not trying to play that game, at least on single issues. Collected editions, it makes a little bit more sense, but like for single issues, Kickstarter, like you're going to get the exclusive covers. You're going to get the high paper stock. You're going to get the bells and whistles. We might throw in some, cool extras that aren't going to be anywhere else. Like metal trading cards have been pretty popular with our folks, and we're going to charge a higher price point for it. And you, as the backer, can choose whether or not you're in or out. When we have like, all right, we've got a series that we're going to release in volumes. but we'll still try to play the individual issue game, but these might be self covers that are like, more economical. They will have the lower price point. They won't have the page count that the Kickstarter edition will have. And we're going to see how that goes and how that works. But I'm sort
the
of
margins
using
are so different, like it's like I thought long and hard even about doing the, a lot of people will have retailer tiers where they kind of do a wholesale bundle or whatever for store owners. And I thought about doing that, and I want to accommodate the brick and mortar stores and comic shops because I really love comic shops, but it doesn't make any sense at these sort of margins for them. And what I concluded was that I'm just going to wait until I finish 4 or 5 issues of this, and then just reach out directly to retailers and see if they want to, I'll do a larger print run in advance, and then see if they want to like get them an actual proper wholesale discount, because it's like having it there on the side. I don't know that it's ever really worked well for anyone, having those retailer tiers.
Yeah, I mean, we always get some of them, although I would bet that at least half of the retailer tiers are the sort of online retailer tiers, or people that are eBaying and flipping and doing things like that. So there is that.
Well, the other reason I didn't do it was because I thought like it makes more sense to have just more of them done, because if you're going to get these books into the direct market, you don't want them coming out at like your Kickstarter schedule. Like it's useless for them to have like one issue every 3-4 months. Like you might as well wait till you've got a whole arc done and then say, hey, do you guys want to carry this in your store? Here's a discount, and they will all come out at once a month or once every 2 weeks, even whatever makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, we still occasionally will have retailers that'll like connect with us about doing a retail exclusive cover, and tying that in with the Kickstarter can be helpful. But the other thing that I've also that we've had is, there's a lot of like the convention road warrior artists that are out there again that are primarily cover artists. Sometimes we've done exclusives where they're like, hey, we want to do a cover. We want to do our own cover for your book. And so it's sort of like the artist / retailer level. And that's kind of been an interesting thing that there's some artists out there that do that as well. So it's an interesting
that's
world,
something I had not encountered. Yeah, it's like it's every I've just found with this is only my second campaign, but I think in a lot of ways it's a much more typical Kickstarter campaign than the first one I did, because it's because there was no established base of readers and fans for it. I'm seeing a lot more mid campaign cancellations and adjustments, just a lot like it's like initially an alarming thing when you just see like all the Kickstarter shows you how many people are canceling or changing their pledges, but I think that's just a more typical campaign. What surprised me actually is that this campaign has a lot more backers than the first one, despite the first campaign being more successful, I guess, quote unquote. I don't know, whatever success is for a Kickstarter campaign. There are more people following this and more people actually backing it. So that's kind of an interesting thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, a clean jumping on point is always a good thing. And then I will also say, like, I don't know if you've spent much time just like hitting the explore button or like checking on monthly, like what the like. It is amazing for all of like the talk out there of like go woke, go broke, or nobody wants to see women do stuff like that. Like, I would bet 90% of the top 200 comic book Kickstarters of all time have female driven protagonists on the project image right in front. Like, it's just, it definitely helps. And so there's definitely proven to be a market for that. And I would see, like, in terms of people that weren't already in love maybe with Charles Christopher, like, a Yeti versus a cool sci-fi badass chick might be the kind of thing that, you would probably see more of the quote unquote Kickstarter market, checking out. So it's interesting.
Yeah,
well,
that's true.
Any other thoughts on that, or just?
No, not really. Not really. It's just been a real dynamic journey, like just kind of rolling with, like, I had more of a idea what I was getting into on this one, and more of a strategy. Like I realized that the pre-launch is just incredibly important to to all these campaigns. I did a lot more work on talking about this thing before it went live, and getting people to click the notify me button before it went live. And it's just been a real learning experience. I think I'm actually, I feel much more relaxed about it than I did the first time around. I can sort of remove myself from it a little bit, and not take everything really personally, and just kind of like just really look at statistics and numbers, and make sure I'm reaching out to people and being communicative.
Yeah. So that the last time we had you on the show was that big the Abominable Charles Christopher launch, and it's been a couple years since then. Like, did it take a while to just recover from Kickstarter fatigue? Were you just like saying, hey, I'm going to do this launch, but no other Kickstarters planned in the future? Or were you planning a gap? Are you surprised that it's taken 2 years to jump back on the platform? Like, I know some creators, like, once they hit Kickstarter and it goes very well, it's like, oh, we got to get back and keep doing this. This is the new thing. How is this sort of fit into your overall, all of the stuff that you do?
Well, it's very quickly becoming, like, I think I have I'm more than halfway through the second issue of this already. So my plan, I think, is to basically just work on this and do Kickstarters for the next couple of years. Like, I think I might do an issue 2 Kickstarter for this in the fall, actually, if everything is ready. I could have, you're right, I could have done this a year ago because the content was there. But the Charles Christopher campaign was, I remember talking to you about it toward the end of it, and you recommended using BackerKit because I had a lot of, not only did I have a lot of stuff to send out, but a lot of convoluted like upgrades and all sorts of things. And I took your advice and I used them. They were amazing. But I still, it was still just a massive amount of work to get all that stuff fulfilled.
Yeah.
Even though I had, like, getting the book printed was not a problem, but dealing with a lot of shipping, and I had to do a lot of sketches and things, and there were like a lot of like different modifications I had to make. Like, I set it up because I announced like a weird hardcover upgrade in the middle of that campaign. There was a lot of weird stuff to navigate. This one, I think I've got all my supplies. I've got a shipping station. I've got help. I know how to use a pledge manager now, and I think it'll go much more smoothly. Also, right when the Abominable campaign was ending and I was ready to fulfill is when we were dealing with a lot of changes in the mail and shipping prices. So that was a struggle too.
That's never a fun thing when all of a sudden prices are jacking up and timetables are getting thrown off. But
for sure. But the goal is to keep doing this. Like, I've kind of cleared my slate of like almost all other work for hire. Like, I do the odd cover and stuff here and there. But I'm pretty much just like working for free all the time. It's funny. My wife always asks me what I'm doing, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I'm working on some stuff that I like, and I'm not getting paid for it for months at a time. And then, I'd say, well, this will pan out somewhere down the road. Like, I'll do a Kickstarter for this, and hopefully it'll be okay. But it has been okay, and I think it just makes me want to do more and more of these.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, a great first reaction, and the nice thing about Kickstarter is a platform that, unlike the direct market where issue 2 time, let's slash orders by 60%.
Yeah, for sure.
Issue
and
2
more with every successive issue.
But it kind of goes the other way. We've seen there's a lot of examples of creators where the backer count goes up with every launch, and so does the total funding. So, I think it's a good bet. But I have had chats with creators, especially creators that do full-time mainstream work, and it's tough for them to actually carve out the time for the creator owned versus the work for hire, pay the bills kind of stuff. And I guess it's I guess it's kind of betting on yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had the advantage of having some free time in order to do this, but yeah, I mean, that's the case even if you're going to do an image book. Basically, any creator-owned thing, unless you're willing to give up a piece of the ownership, you're probably not going to get much of an advance for that, and you're working for free just to eventually release this thing that you own 100%. I think it's worthwhile, but yeah, of course, it depends on your situation.
Yeah. You're doing one of the things that I love about Kickstarter is, as the campaign is hitting goals and passing different milestones, you're unlocking upgrades to the core of the campaign itself, and sort of doing this in a way that it's not going too crazy, but like improving the versions of the books by upgrading the foils, or the paper stock, or the cover stock. Anything in particular that you're excited that you were able to unlock here, and anything that with 4 days to go that you're potentially waiting in the wings for backers?
Well, I was originally following like a stretch goal chart, which I think I'm probably never going to do again, just because it's so limiting. And like once you put that chart up there with like specific goals and prices and milestones on it, I felt really kind of hamstrung by that for the first 2 or 3 weeks, because I was like, I had stuff that I could have announced, and I was just waiting for the dollar figure to go up enough to warrant it. And now I think I'm just dropping stuff when it makes sense. I have I'm real happy with all the stuff that's going on. The chromium cover is a super 90s throwback that I'm kind of giddy about.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun to do. But I've got one other thing, well, a couple of things, but one thing I'm just waiting to see the final turnarounds. But I've got some guys. There's a team who are making a 3D model of the main character that I'm going to add. I'm going to add a file for 3D printers as an add-on for people. I think that's super cool. I'm excited just for myself to be able to do that. So I'm just waiting to. I just saw some of the turnarounds today, and they look amazing. So that hopefully will be maybe tomorrow. I might drop that, and then I don't know. I'm eager to see what happens in the last few days. I mean, like if the standard Kickstarter spike at the end of the campaign occurs. It might not. I've seen them happen where nothing there's that just flatlines at the end of the campaign, but who knows?
I think that has been one of the biggest shifts. I think the upside of that pre-launch phase, the pre-launch page, the notify me button, is people's day ones are going through the roof. But if there's nothing sort of new, or that you're stretching for, or that or just putting any extra thing in, I have not been seeing the same like final crazy 72 hours. I do know that there's a, like, I believe it's 48 hours, and then 8 or your followers will get one more blast from Kickstarter, which is nice. So as that follower count goes up, that's a pool of people that are still out there going to get messaged. But then I am still seeing some creators land with really big final days too. So
I guess we'll see. I know that follower count for this campaign is there are almost 2,000 people, I think, who have clicked notify me and are following this campaign, and it's a pretty low conversion rate so far. So I'm curious to see how many of those people decide to actually check this out by the end of it. Like it's funny. I was talking to Oriana Leckert, who's like the Kickstarter comics outreach person. We were speaking the other day, and she said like it's a weird thing internally at Kickstarter. That number, there's debate about whether they should even show it or not, because there's absolutely nothing you can do about it as a creator. I mean, you can see how many people are following your campaign, but you can't reach those people. You can't do anything other than wonder if they're going to show up. And she was kind of suggesting that maybe it's like I don't know, is that a positive or a negative for people? I kind of like it because it suggests that like there maybe there's something I'm not doing to reach those people, but you can't poll them, you can't do anything
Yeah, it can give you hope, and it gives you reason to keep going. In terms of conversion rates, in my community, we usually that number's usually between 20 and 40%. But there's not even usually a strong correlation between like campaign performance and follower count. I don't know. Like, I think in a lot of ways, it's like, hey, how good is your project image and above the fold, right? Because that's where the remind me button is too. So, and I know people can like hit the heart button or whatever. And I think when they're just like scrolling in on Kickstarter, and I believe that adds you to notify as well. So yeah, but it is that like, oh, if only I could just talk to these people and directly, but it's a number to track. It's just one of another metrics. I don't know. I was actually surprised that you haven't, and I'm just want to make sure that like it's available to you on your Kickstarter page. I noticed you haven't added reward images yet.
Oh yeah, it was. Oh wait, I think it went live after I launched the campaign. I know when I put an add-on on there, like I now have the ability to put an image for add-ons. When I created the rewards, I didn't know you could do it. Can you edit them still?
So images is one of the things that you can edit, even if someone has taken that pledge. So for your home stretch, I would like, this would be the number one thing I would do right now, would be go in and add images to each one of those pledge levels, because like, and I don't know if you noticed that Kickstarter also rolled out this new sort of advanced analytics button. But when you click on that, you realize 60-70% of backing is coming from mobile. And right,
and it's on, the rewards are on their own tab, right? So you can't,
and they're on their own tabs, and it's all text, and it's super hard. But when you add those images, it's like, it makes it so clear. I like, I think 5 days before I launched my last campaign, Kickstarter added like rolled out that image feature, and that was like, I jumped in and added them all, and we doubled our best day one ever. and like the campaign is now the most funded one that I've ever launched. And I think those images, like, and it also has the highest page conversion rate for anything that I've ever launched. And yeah, it's I think that's a real game changer. So yeah, you can do that. Go add them in before your home stretch.
I will do it today. I didn't even know you could. That was an option, because I haven't clicked edit on any of those actual reward tiers. I've messed with the add-ons, and I've seen the image option there. But yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that immediately. Thanks for that hot tip.
Hey, that's what I do. The other thing I wanted to ask, you're working with, I saw Jellup. You're working with Jellup on promotion for this.
Yeah, well, I heard them interviewed on your show, and it sounded like a pretty cool deal. Like I liked their model, so I contacted. I think it was I can't remember his name now. It was the same guy you talked to. Yeah. And they were great. I set it up. I ran the ads. This is the first time I've ever run ads, so it was a real learning experience. But they pretty much handle everything after the onboarding process. And I ran the ads for, I think, the first week. Yeah. And then I got, cold feet about the ad spend, and I decided to put a pause on it. Now, well, I don't know if that was a good idea or not. Maybe running those ads throughout that 2-week dead zone might have been a good idea, but and maybe I'll do it on the next one. But I'm glad I tried them out. I know that they're partnering with Kickstarter now, right? To kind of more close, like integrate ads more closely into the campaigns.
Yeah, and I'm actually working with them on my current launch as well. And it is one of those things where like anything that you do on Kickstarter, the first couple days, the first week, the performance is great, and then it dies down a little bit in the middle of the campaign, and then it's sort of like, all right, how much do I actually want to spend, even if it's like a break-even deal? But it's it can become a tough decision. But in terms of actual performance, like they're performing quite well.
Yeah, well, I think they're profitable. Like I was pretty happy with the conversion on them. I will say one thing, like maybe it'll help you or other listeners. So Jellup, I guess as you know, they make money on a percentage of the reward pledge revenue that they bring to your campaign.
Yeah.
But in your onboarding, you have to agree to a bunch of things or disagree. But one of the things is that you allow them to message people through Kickstarter on your behalf. And I noticed that I kind of wish that I had declined that, because they messaged a bunch of people from my previous campaign saying, hey, go and check out my new campaign. They signed it with my name. And I didn't get to vet that message. I didn't see that message. And second of all, that's something I was going to do anyway. And now because they've used their own referral links, like that's money I now owe Jellup for something I was going to do on my own.
That's weird. Yeah, I didn't realize that, or see that they had done that through past campaigns versus something else. So yeah, that's like, I knew that they have a survey link that they send to all new backers, but yeah, that's that.
The survey I actually declined to use because I thought it might be distracting, but it was really more of the, like, if I was going to do it again, and I probably will use them again, but I think I would have them not speak for me in direct messaging through Kickstarter, because it's not in my voice for one, and it's also, they're also using their own links. So like that's a pretty significant source of revenue, like messaging your past backers. So attributing, like that's to me, that is not that's not an audience they brought in. so they shouldn't be charging me for that.
Yeah, that's weird. I'll have to look into that, because I didn't see them do that for ours, but I'll have to double check. But one thing that they also have is like a first backer newsletter or whatever, like, because they work with all of these campaigns, and they basically, part of their model is, if we can get backers to sign up for our email list from all of the projects that we run, we can we then have a list that we can send targeted emails to, and obviously get a commission on what we get from that. And for our campaign, like, I think over $3,000 came from them blasting their own email list of past backers, which was pretty surprising, because usually, like, I don't expect a marketing company that's doing a lot of like high-end tech projects and stuff to like translate to weird plush toys, but it did. It was pretty effective. So
it must be a significant mailing list. I mean, I guess that's like it's like doing cross promotion on steroids,
Yeah, absolutely. And at least the one thing that is they all have Kickstarter accounts, which I think goes a long way. And they say in some of their documentations, like, less than 1% of the US population still has backed a Kickstarter project. So it still is a niche, and then of a niche of a niche of a niche, in terms of when you get down to our own individual projects that people back. But then again, the good thing is 50K from 50K, depending upon what you're doing, 1,000 backers can generate a lot of funds. That's cool. And then we're both also it sounds like participating in the Kickstarter / Pledge Manager beta test that is coming out. So and we're supposed to not be able to speak too much on the particulars of that. But was that a tough decision for you, after having used BackerKit, to then like sign up to be a part of this? I mean, I think it's been around, it's in existence, etc. This is an integration, but how did your decision go for using Pledge Manager?
I was reluctant just because my experience with BackerKit was really, really good. I mean, they were, in addition to just being a really good system and service, like the customer support was incredible. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when I was trying to set up my first BackerKit Pledge Manager, there was anytime I had a problem, I would just email someone there, and they would often send me back like videos, custom videos that they made to show me how to do stuff, or just set stuff up for me if I wanted. I mean, there was a lot of hand holding, and it was I was really appreciative of it, and I had no regrets about using them. In fact, I was ready to use them again, but then the Pledge Manager thing showed up, and it was I'm tempted just because I'm curious to see just how closely it's integrated. Like I like the idea of using the Kickstarter platform to be messaging everybody and not sending them all through like a different system. But I was reluctant partly because I liked the idea of just building that BackerKit base and being able to like, for example, like I used BackerKit launch for this campaign, and it had all my information from the previous campaign. So now I'm going to have a gap, I guess, in in data.
Actually, well, so the one nice thing that you don't have to worry about is BackerKit products are like can be used separately. Mm-hmm. So like launch is a product that you can use even if you don't use the other stuff, and it will still pull all of your. Now it won't pull any BackerKit. If you get additional pledges, you won't get that, but it can still pull all that Kickstarter data, even if you don't use them for that.
I don't feel so bad then. So, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm going to try out this Pledge Manager thing, and I read a bunch of reviews, and people seemed happy with both of them. So we'll see how it.
Yeah, I'm sort of the same. The fact that I do this show is part of the reason why it's like, how can you not like be a guinea pig so that you have content for the Comics Launch audience? Like it's not. And you combine that with the fact that they are giving a really good deal on my biggest campaign, and BackerKit's still like they take a flat percentage of whatever you do. Mm-hmm. And for Pledge Manager to not be doing that for this is that's thousands of dollars actually. So mm-hmm. I don't know. It makes mistakes, but I am. Also, because this is such a big campaign, I'm a little bit concerned about the back end, like because I've got my BackerKit systems all figured out, and so to figure out how you orchestrate the fulfillment of another big campaign using a system that not entirely familiar with is something that I'm at least a little nervous about. But
I haven't set up anything in Pledge Manager yet, which I have to start doing before the campaign ends. But I was told by someone, BackerKit representative, that Pledge Manager was it's more difficult to go in there and get your hands dirty with it. I think they kind of run everything from their end, so you can't really go and change a lot of stuff on your own. So I think I have to contact someone there to really get that ball rolling and have them do all my setup and import all my rewards and add-ons and things like that.
Yeah, same here. I gotta figure that whole process out, but it's it keeps us fresh, right? Keeps us on our toes.
Always changing. There's some really cool they've rolled out some really cool upgrades Kickstarter, between the images and all the integrations and stuff like that. I think they're getting better and better. I would love more more ways to. There's certain things I would still like to have, like on the back end.
Yeah.
Like different like graphical tweaks and things that I would like to, being able to set up my page a bit differently, or I don't know. Yeah. There's just little things, but I think they're coming along really well.
Yeah, I feel like in the last 6 months they've made more changes to the platform than they did in like the previous 6 years, and a lot of it is mostly, or I think all of it is for the better. And yeah, I mean, getting those images up for pledge rewards, I think like it's such a, like, it was one of those things where like the interface for it was better than I thought it was going to be. They look better than I thought it was going to be. But then, and I'm like, wow, I'm really excited about this. And then it's also like, when you see it and how much it makes sense, it's like, how did you take 12, 13 years before you added?
It's good to have competition, right? Because now they've got to worry about BackerKit's platform, which I guess is something else. As a reporter, journalist, podcaster, you probably have to run some campaigns through the new BackerKit platform now.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had a couple creators jump in and interviewed them on the podcast for sure. I don't necessarily know that I can justify launching a project of my own there yet for anything, just simply because of the scale of those projects, and especially in the comics category. You know, Kickstarter, there's routinely 200 plus projects live, which is like a community to cross promote with and to, you know, be a part of, and for people and people actively shopping. I think there's maybe 2-3 projects live right now on BackerKit crowdfunding in comics. So it's
well, I haven't even looked at it, so I don't know if that tells you anything. Like, it's, you know, I'm sure they have a giant user base of people with, you know, who have BackerKit accounts, but
yeah. And I mean, like, I had Laurie Foster from Unlikely Hero Studios, who previously had only done projects on Kickstarter, and they did a launch for a new version of an anthology series that was previously funded several times on Kickstarter. They launched that on BackerKit, and ended up having like their project. She shared that like the project follower count on BackerKit versus conversion rate was like lower, like insanely low. And they had a lot of people saying, you know, hey, you know, can't figure this BackerKit thing out. You know, I'm a Kickstarter person. Let us know if you're back on Kickstarter. And so they, as soon as the BackerKit thing ended, they're like, let's launch for another 2 weeks on Kickstarter. And you know, they captured some more of those folks. So
they could do it concurrently, right? I mean, like, I know some people will do concurrent Kickstarter Indiegogo campaigns.
Indiegogo, I believe, has a prohibition against that.
There's one happening right now that I recently
like
cross promoted with. So I didn't even know until I went and looked at their site. But yeah, it's running concurrently on.
Yeah, that's interesting. I felt like or at least I've heard that somewhere in there that they frown on that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of that. I think it's hard enough to channel your people to one spot versus another, and then like, how do you like marketing and creating ads, like all of this stuff, like, you know, focus is your friend, I believe. But you know, if I'm also a big fan of people experimenting so trying things out. But yeah, I don't know, it's a wild world, but I'm glad you're going to be in this world with us over the next couple of years, Carl, because this new project looks phenomenal, and I can only imagine where you can take this going forward. So congrats on this.
Yeah, well, and thanks for the podcast, because it really has been an endless wealth of information. It's extremely helpful. I don't know how many people tell you that, but I get a lot out of it.
I appreciate that. You know, and I'm glad that I was able to share that little image tip, because I want to see a big, strong finish, and I got to go back this thing as well myself. So I'm excited to get a copy of this book. But well, Carl, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your experience, and we'll be looking forward to a lot more from you in the near future on Kickstarter and beyond. So thanks for being here, man.
Thanks again.
And everyone watching at home, thank you for tuning in. We can't wait to see what you all launch next. Take care now.